Hey guys, and welcome back to another one. So as always, this video is very impromptu. I'm just on a morning walk through the woods. Literally just woken up, feeling very sleepy still. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to make another video for the guys on YouTube. So yeah, in this one I'm going to talk a little bit about psychedelic experiences and more specifically how I've benefited from psychedelics, how I've benefited from using Liberty Cap mushrooms. And not only that, but also a little bit on how Liberty Cap mushrooms and magic mushrooms may have affected my life for the not so great. So yeah, for those of you that are not familiar with magic mushrooms or Liberty Caps, just a quick introduction there. They're a specific type of mushroom that have an array of molecules, or a specific molecule called psilocybin, which when consumed by a human being can have profound effects on the state of consciousness that a person has. It can induce hallucinations, it can induce synesthesia. But to cut to the chase, for me, the reason I take psychedelic mushrooms is because, or the reason why I've taken psychedelic mushrooms in the past is because of the way that they are able to induce what I call a spiritual experience. Now, I'm not taking these mushrooms for fun. I'm not at parties. You know, I have taken them with friends, but if I have, it's a very small group of people. And the intention behind taking them is a very strongly oriented towards personal development and spiritual experience. So what does that mean? A lot of you might be already switching off at this point, thinking, oh, he mentioned the word spiritual, I'm not into that. It sounds like he's religious or something. No, you're quite mistaken. So for me, a spiritual experience is an experience that puts you closer to yourself, closer to understanding who you really are and where you really are and what you really are and how you really are. It's spiritual questions are the ones that kind of the deepest questions, you know, the ones that might make you feel a bit uncomfortable when you think about them. Like, how the heck are we all here in the first place? These kind of questions. And so a spiritual experience really puts you right in the center of that. It really just drops you in it, and you're faced with it, and you're almost presented with answers. And it really gives you an opportunity to explore these questions if used in the right way. So yeah, that's a little bit about the context. I might do another video more on that, but just to clarify, I'm not taking mushrooms with the intention to have fun, with the intention to have a party and get a bit trippy and, you know, get fucked up like a lot of people can do. I'm really in this very intentionally, very sensibly, very, very calmly, very focused, very seriously, with a big amount of respect towards this substance because it's so powerful. Now, many of you might be wondering, what is he talking about? I've taken mushrooms and they don't do anything like that. Well, that's because your intention is not the same as mine. If you go in with the intention of, oh, I want to have a bit of fun and see some funny colours, then that's what you're going to get. You know, a lot of working with these mushrooms. What it is it's about having a really strong intention, because when you realise that, wow, these mushrooms are more than just a bit of fun and colours, they can actually work with your intention and do things that you didn't realise were possible. So that's the framing, that's the context, that's why I take mushrooms. So now, with that being said, I can jump into the kind of the benefits that I've reaped from mushrooms. And the obvious ones off the bat are, I'm more self-aware than I ever have been. They give you this, they amplify your awareness of yourself. And so, you know, before I took mushrooms, I kind of felt like I was just stumbling through life, kind of as though I was watching a movie. Whereas now, I have a much more awareness of who I am and what is going on, and I'm much more sensitive to my own environment. I'm aware of my surroundings as I'm walking through the woods more. I've kind of got this attuned and this sharpened sense of being, and that can be greatly beneficial, especially in a sensory experience, as the human one is. When we're walking through the woods, I'm not just looking at things, I'm observing them in very fine detail, the textures on the leaves and how they make me feel, the sensations of the wind on the face, all this. Like, I'm really immersed in life more than ever before, and that can be a splendor, but it also comes with some drawbacks. So the more aware you are of things, the easier it is to get caught up in them. A lot of people talk about psychedelics as these kind of consciousness expanding drugs, or these mind expanding drugs, and I'd say to some extent that's true. And it's not, for me, it's not just temporary, it's not just while you're in the experience, but it's afterwards as well, especially if you manage to integrate the experience. So a few other benefits. I'm vastly more grateful for my life on this earth. I'm so appreciative of what it is to be a human, and I really appreciate the fragility of life. The psychedelic experience has shown me that so many things have to be in place beyond your imagination. So many things have to be in place for you to exist in the first place. So not only, we're on this planet that's flying around a massive ball of fire, that's flying around another massive ball of fire, and we're also just the right distance away from that ball of fire so that we don't freeze, so that we don't burn, and then let alone from all that, life has evolved over billions and millions and God knows how long, many years, to result in where we are now. Do I need to say any more? So, before I took psychedelics, I knew this stuff, but I'd just take it for granted. I'd just be like, oh, well, Well, now I appreciate that. I'm aware of the complexity of it, the fragility of it, the amount of respect that I have towards the craziness of it all has increased. And so my general experience of life, I'd say, is a little bit nicer. I can have more fun, especially on my own. That's another benefit. So moving on to another benefit, I'm way more comfortable on my own these days. Like, I used to crave attention from other people, and I needed to be around people for whatever reason. But now I have a much more, a stronger comfort in solitude. I could be on my own best friend for hours on end. And now there is a little trap in that, if you go into that for too much time, and you go into there for too long, you can get stuck in there, and then you can feel uncomfortable around other people. So it's always important to maintain a balance. And I'm not saying, go and spend so much time on yourself, because it can be a bad thing. What else? So, so I'd summarise that with I've had this general increase of satisfaction with life, from everything from food right down to a walk in the woods. Everything is much more enjoyable. I'm more content with who I am. I'm not always looking for approval from everybody. So I guess that's another nice segue onto the next benefit, and that is that I'm more confident in myself. I'm not prior to my... And it's worth saying at this point, actually, that I've in the past, I took psychedelics a long time ago, so I've had a long time to integrate the learnings. It's not new to me, and it's worth saying now that when it is new, when it's new to you, when it was new to me, it can disrupt life a little bit. Everything can feel strange, and it takes a really long time for the dust to settle so that everything feels normal again. So just to say that I'm at that point now, or I feel like I'm at that point now where the dust has settled and I'm kind of back to baseline, but I've managed to keep a hold of some of the learnings and information that I'd learned on my psychedelic experiences. So back to where I was. So prior to my psychedelic experiences, I would always have this like self-consciousness, self-doubt. I'd always be like, I used to spend hours in the mirror styling my hair, not for me, but for everyone else. And, I'd use gel products and I'd pop my spots and everything, and I'd be really self-conscious about my appearance more than anything. But deeper than that, I would also be self-conscious about, if people liked my personality, if I'm funny, all these things. You're just hyper aware of this kind of self-consciousness, or this feedback from other people and this acceptance. And so psychedelics now, I've learned that it doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks ultimately. If you're having a job interview, that's a different situation. It's all about the context. There's no point being hyper aware of myself around other people all the time, but it can be useful in some occasions. So now I'm much more like, I am who I am. I can't really change that. It's a blessing anyway. I mean, I'm here in the first place, so what the heck. Everybody's different, everybody's unique, so I'm just going to embrace who I am. And so it's another learning. I'm going to try not to waffle on and go too deep into the subjects. I'm going to talk briefly about them, and then if anyone likes anything I mention in particular, then mention it in the comments below and I'll dig deeper into that in another video. So another thing, since having some quite profound psychedelic experiences, I'm now way more focused on ensuring that I'm healthy. I'm not as mindless with my diet, with my mental health, exercise, these kind of things. I like to think, don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect, and I still eat cookies and I still don't exercise for weeks on end, but I'm much more focused on trying to stay sane in all this craziness. So I now have a regular meditation practice, or at least try to. Again, I'm not perfect, I fall sometimes and I don't meditate for a week, but I try to keep up this, I'm working towards constantly being healthy and improving myself. What else? I guess I can talk a bit about some of the negative side effects that psychedelics have had. The obvious one for me is when you have such a crazy, profound experience where you essentially, just metaphorically blast off into space, millions of miles away from your home, and you come across some aliens and you experience yourself in a different form. It's completely metaphorical, but just to say, imagine having an experience like that and then coming back to Earth and trying to tell everyone about that. That can be, need I say more? So my point is, the struggle of having a psychedelic experience is that nobody else has seen what you've seen. Nobody's shared your experience. It's completely your own. And so there's a big part of the process that means you have to accept that. You have to learn to kind of get on with that you can't really share it in ultimate detail. And so obviously one of the best things to do is to share that with people that might have had similar experiences, which is a big part of the psychedelic integration process, is to really share with people that can hear you. And people that have no idea what you're talking about, I'm going to think you're crazy, because that's only going to impede your progress. I think that one of the struggles for me has been that it's been this having crazy experiences, and especially around family. You come back and you see your family getting all caught up and muddled and in a stress about washing the pots. In the meantime, you feel like you've experienced God, and you have a greater sense and respect for everything, including the bugs on the floor through to the clouds in the sky, and people getting caught up and muddled in the simplest mundane everyday things. And it can be quite stressful. And I personally went through this period of really hating people after the first few psychedelic experiences. I was just, I just couldn't deal with it. And it's like I was almost blaming them for their ignorance, but it's really not their fault. And so this is a huge learning, and I can't, put this on anybody, but the process of being so angry at people and frustrated with people's ignorance has now led me to become more compassionate for people. So I've gone through the whole cycle. You might be somewhere in the phase that I was, where you don't get on with people. You get stressed out by people's ignorance easy and stupidity. After you've had this mind expanding experience, and then you come round that and you begin to appreciate, it's not their fault. They're only people. They're in the same system that we are. They're under the same influence that we are, but they've just not had the opportunity to have an experience that I have. So then you become compassionate, and then you're able to accept these people and help these people and love these people just as you would yourself. And it's by no means easy. And again, I'm not perfect, and I don't have the ability to do that on a regular basis. Okay, what next? Yeah, I think another thing for me on the same kind of subject is this idea of that when you have these profound experiences, you become so aware of how kind of corrupt the political system, societal system is, in terms of it doesn't really benefit the human species. It's like if you don't know it already, it highlights how corrupt our system, the system that we live in is. There's no focus on prolonging the health of the planet through renewable resources. Everyone's so focused on consuming and selling and material objects, and no one really cares to take a step back and look after themselves and look after their brothers and sisters. So yeah, again, this can be a really hard thing to integrate, is coming back into that system and not being able to do anything about it. And I found that really difficult. You kind of come back with this activist mindset. It's like, I'm going to change the world, everyone's going to eat healthily, no more meat, no more fossil fuels. And that can be overwhelming, because you quickly realize that nobody's going to change overnight, and you're kind of stuck in this system, and that can be a difficult thing. And my experience with that is still a bit of a struggle, as always. I just recently watched the new David Attenborough, and he highlights it all really well. It's just like, come on, humans, what are you doing? You're being a bit stupid here. Wake up, sort it out. So yeah, still struggle with that on an ongoing basis, but I'm much more accepting of it these days. I'm like, I think, well, I can't change it. It's that Stoic philosophy. I don't know if you're not familiar with Stoic philosophy, you might find it quite interesting. Have a look into it. It's this attitude of like, if you can't change it, then don't get caught up in it, just leave it. So I kind of have a bit of that, but I also, more importantly, I'm now inclined to kind of take small steps into making changes that might benefit people. I suppose naturally, over the many years that I was involved with using psychedelics, my career kind of shifted from working with like massive corporate companies and very egocentric, narrow-minded companies, to working with very holistic companies and businesses that are looking out for other people and looking out for improving the health of the planet. So that's over a period of maybe 5 years, is you'll slowly take steps towards making positive change, as opposed to just being baffled by it all. So anyway, I think the video is getting pretty long there. This is really just a quick impromptu discussion on some of the things that I've benefit from, some of the things. It's kind of a video to let you guys get to know me a bit more in how I think about and feel about magic mushrooms and why I use them. So I'll leave it there. I'm probably going to do more like this, more specific ones, and I might actually go ahead and plan some videos, because like I say, these are impromptu. I'm just talking as I walk, whereas I think it might be beneficial if I stop and plan some things. So if there's anything else you want to hear about, drop a comment down below. I'll be sure to make a video on anything that people kind of recommend if I get many recommendations for one thing, I'll definitely make a video on it, so let me know. As always, these videos take some time and energy. If you want to support me to make more, if you found anything that I've shared useful, then there's 2 links in the description below. You can either buy me a beer for a couple of quid, you know, so we can't share a beer because of COVID, but you can buy me one and I can enjoy it myself. I'll drink it with you in mind. Or if you want to support me more than that, then you can become a patron. And if you become a Patreon, I think you pay a couple of quid a month, then I'll actually help you and ID some mushrooms. So if you find any mushrooms in the wild, Liberty Caps or not, you can send me some pictures and I'll give you my opinion on them. Now, I can't guarantee you that I'll tell you what they are, but I can definitely give you a help. Or if you just want to chat to me personally, then that's the best way to do that. So yeah, look out for the links below. Yeah, hope you enjoyed this one. Have a great day, folk. Peace.